Stretching 900 square miles and crossing 2 counties, the Clackamas River Basin is rich in natural resources. It generates hydroelectric power, hosts productive farms and nurseries, and offers abundant recreational activities. The Clackamas River supplies clean drinking water to over 300,000 people. It is home to old-growth forests, endangered species, and one of the last remaining wild salmon runs of coho, chinook, and steelhead in the lower Columbia Basin. From drinking water to economic and recreational opportunities, the Clackamas River provides. Whether you live, work, or play in the watershed, we are all linked to the Clackamas River as it flows 83 miles from its headwaters at Olalley Butte to the Willamette River in Oregon City. Just as a river carves a landscape over time, our watershed moves and shapes the culture of our communities. Our Clackamas River provides inspiration and a shared landscape through which we all receive respite, a chance to reconnect with nature, and sometimes a chance to be one with the wild. But our watershed is experiencing rapid development, impacts from climate change, pollution, urbanization, and the corresponding ecological stresses.
The Clackamas River Basin Council is a nonprofit that provides community benefit as we engage landowners, individuals, and businesses in watershed improvement projects. Our work improves water quality and fish and wildlife habitat in the lower Clackamas River watershed. We also partner with BLM, U.S. Forest Service, and PGE on projects in the upper Clackamas. No matter what we do, we work to ensure our projects make the biggest impact in places of the watershed that need it most.
In the past year, the Clackamas River Basin Council completed the Kingfisher Side Channel Reconnection Project at Milo MacGyver State Park. The revived 1,700-foot-long side channel branches off of the Mainstem River and provides vital habitat for aquatic and terrestrial wildlife. This project is unique in that it will offer habitat for our culturally significant fish species all year round. This deepened channel has additional habitat complexity features from the several hundred logs that were placed throughout the channel. With these enhancements, juvenile fish, along with many other wildlife species, will enjoy the benefits of increased access to food, shelter, and cold water.
This February, we planted 11,000 trees and shrubs at Kingfisher. This, along with 4 acres of native grass seeding, softens the landscape and provides many ecological benefits to the aquatic restoration. In September 2020, the Riverside Fire burned roughly 100,000 acres in the Clackamas River Basin, the largest fire in our watershed's recorded history. Another blaze that year, the Dowdy Road Fire, was much smaller but did comparable damage to people's homes and properties. Following engagement with local landowners affected by the 2 fires, CRBC sprung to action. That November, through our annual watershed celebration, we initiated the Replant the Riverside campaign to raise funds to help these landowners heal their land. Thanks to the incredible support we received, we replanted at 3 properties along the Clackamas River between Estacada and Eagle Creek, 2 affected by the Dowdy Road Fire and 1 by the Riverside Fire. After planting 7,700 trees in early 2021, 2 homeowners have since taken over stewardship of their lands, while CRBC contractors continue to conduct treatments at the 3rd. The new plants largely survived last summer's hot weather and are thriving after a mild, well-watered spring. Despite the unfortunate circumstances that brought us together, we are grateful to have made these new relationships. Building off this momentum, we have partnered with organizations including the Clackamas Soil and Water Conservation District, Pudding River Watershed Council, and Oregon State University Extension Service to reach out to other landowners affected by these fires. With our partners, we are assisting 10 additional landowners with debris cleanup, reforestation, weed management, and erosion control. This represents a combined 74 acres of habitat restoration, including nearly 1.5 miles of stream protected in the Clackamas and Pudding watersheds.
As we watch this video, the Sebin Riverbend Restoration Project is underway. At the confluence of Sebin Creek and the Clackamas River, heavy machinery is deepening and improving a historic side channel to provide habitat for juvenile native fish. When the fish are young, they need access to these off-channel habitats, which offer a safe place for them to grow up out of a busy river. There's a real art to designing these projects in a way that will not only create habitat, but also ensures that they will stand the test of time. We place log jams throughout the channel, and much like an iceberg, only the tip of the large wood structure is visible. Most of the wood is buried deep in the stream bank, thus ensuring stability of the structures while providing the complex habitat that fish need. This project will help salmon, steelhead, and many other wildlife species for many years to come.
Upstream of the confluence, we revegetated a challenging site where the stream cuts through steep rocky banks. To help with erosion control, we hydroseeded and planted shrubs and willow stakes on 3 acres of hillside. This protects the homes at the top of the slope and improves ecological conditions at the construction site downstream. We also pulled invasive garlic mustard throughout the property this spring.
The Sebin Riverbend Restoration Project introduced us to the Clackamas River Community Co-op, a manufactured home community situated along the project site. The co-op has been instrumental in ensuring the success of this project. Community members not only support this work, but also partnered with us on a program we created through a Metro Nature and Neighborhoods grant. Through this program, we provided native plant workshops, planting parties, and assistance starting the Huckleberry Consortium, a group of co-op landowners who will continue to steward the Sebin Riverbend project into the future. These landowners were inspired by this project, and we are inspired by them. We know that our work is amplified when the community is involved and actively engaged. One of our programs, the Stash the Trash program, provides reusable bags along the Clackamas at 6 popular parks and 5 locations only accessible by boat or float. We almost can't keep up with demand for these bags, and we receive a lot of positive reinforcement from river users when we restock the bag stands. We've already added 1 park this year with plans to add another.
Our trash removal efforts don't stop there. In partnership with We Love Clean Rivers, we organize and host the Down the River Cleanup, an annual event at the end of the recreation season. This event has removed over 40 tons in trash from the river since 2006. We hope to see you this September 11th when volunteers come together to clean up areas between Milo McIver State Park and Clackamas Park.
We are passionate about connecting with the community. In the past year, we've hosted work parties to place Christmas trees in the river for fish habitat, led free workshops for homeowners, tabled events, and provided hands-on education to dozens of students. We've also had a lot of fun getting creative on social media and even created a new TikTok account. We're finding the best ways we can to create a culture around river health and inspire others to love our waterways like we do.
The Clackamas River Basin Council's work to improve watershed health is appreciated by people in the region in many unique ways. The Clackamas means different things to each person who experiences its beauty. Our work is designed to improve fish and wildlife habitat. The impact is far-reaching. Improving our watershed honors those who are inspired by the Clackamas now and throughout history.
Bobby Mercier is a language specialist and traditional carver at the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde. He shares his perspective on the importance of watershed restoration.
Als I am Kanaway Claxta, Bobby Mercier, Nakanimpi, not do dolly aquapus and Saga Shawashali Telcum, be na work Nakatluko pick the aquapus and Sagan. My name is Bobby Mercier, and I work here for the Chichala Museum for the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, and I'm one of our traditional carvers here for the tribe. The importance of the river pertaining to our art, especially the Clackamas, our Clackamas Chinook people, where one of my great-grandfathers come from, that up and down that river used to be our villages, and just so much rock art and our traditional carving art inspire everything that we still do here today. You can see it in everything that we do. Our Chinookan art is one of the biggest things we have here for the Confederated Tribes of Grand Round. Our tribe does just about everything we can up and down the Willamette Valley and our ceded territories. Our territories go all the way to Mount Shasta and then down to the Columbia River and out to the coast. And we're always involved in restoration, knowing that anything that we do from the headwaters will affect all the way out to the ocean and affects each one of us. Not only just the water, it affects the land, it affects the banks of the rivers, and it affects all of our animals as well. And so very important in restoring things back to its natural habitat, and very excited to see this project.
The forested slopes of the Clackamas Watershed provide a perfect backdrop for local artists. Earlene Marsh, a local artist living in Eagle Creek, shares her perspective on the importance of watershed recovery.
Okay, both of my parents were Texans. When my dad proposed, one of the things that the mother agreed to was to come and settle in Oregon. And so they both did, 82nd at first, and then in the late 40s they moved out to the farm, which was by the Clackamas River. And the road from there to Estacada was still dirt at the time. It's hard to imagine, but anyway. So early on they realized, and I realized, the importance of the environment and how important water was and how important the river was. And so summers I especially grew up on the banks of the river and the side creek with the dogs and the cows and eating blackberries, and it was perfect. And both of my parents were strongly into the environment, the scenic Clackamas River, and taking care of it. I grew up with that background, and a colleague, a science teacher, told me 50 years ago that by the time we noticed climate change, it would be too late. So I really try to do my part to protect the river and respect it. And the first things I painted happened to be the Clackamas River and the trees, trying to preserve them on canvas.
Young artists represent the future of art in the basin. Here to share how the Clackamas inspires her art is 13-year-old Danica Glacier, the winner of the 2022 Libraries in Clackamas County Teen Art Contest.
Hello, I'm Danica Glazer, a young aspiring artist in Happy Valley. Art is an important part of my life. I spend countless hours on my craft. In my art, inspiration is the centerpiece that everything else builds upon. Inspiration comes to me through a variety of sources, but most commonly, inspiration stems from the natural world. Living near the Clackamas River means that ponds and creeks are abundant. Whether we're kayaking through lazy rivers or hiking along breathtaking waterfalls, the natural beauty of Oregon's watersheds never fails to inspire me. This is why protecting and preserving the Clackamas River is so important to me. By keeping our water beautiful and healthy, we can preserve the Clackamas River as an inspiration to hundreds of artists like me.
The Clackamas Watershed is a beautiful and interwoven tapestry of land, water, and life. Artists connect our hearts and souls to special places in the watershed. Through their work, the connection to nature within us all is triggered and emerges, and we are moved to preserve and improve the precious places that drew their inspiration. CRBC's art comes in a different form, but it is inspired from the same love and reverence for the Clackamas River Basin.
Native plants provide our watershed with much of its color and texture, whether it's the rich green foliage and gray bark of towering cottonwoods, muting the sun's brightness on our rivers and streams, or the color swatches of flowering shrubs attracting pollinators through the spring and summer months. Restoration ecologists such as I don't typically select plants with artistic beauty as a goal, but the beauty of a thriving, diverse, and highly functional ecosystem is usually the end result.
Our reconnection projects are not intended to be an expressive art form, but I find beauty in healthy natural systems. When we design these projects, nature is our medium. The finished project is a functional, permanent installation created to mimic what once was. These projects are a partnership with the river, and we provide the river with the means to express itself through the creation of habitat.
It's an art form that takes patience, though. It often requires a lot of imagination when you look at rows of spindly new plants and trying to picture the thicket of riparian vegetation it will hopefully become in several years' time. Even then, sometimes you get a reminder of why you do what you do. The spicy, resinous scent of cottonwood buds in spring, the swirling song of the Swainson's thrush from a nearby clump of willows, a bright yellow swallowtail butterfly wandering past as if inspecting your work.
The Clackamas River Watershed is a resource and an environmental treasure. Your support is needed to ensure that it is protected in the face of increasing development and climate change. Because when rivers thrive, we all thrive, especially when we work together.